Alrighty, and here we are once again. It has been a break week off with a Bathurst 12 hour from ESO in the middle of it, but we are here again for Fargone Racing GT Challenge Season 18, and we are here for round 4 at Paul Ricard. It's a 70-minute race here in this French circuit, which I very much despise, but it is something I'm going to have to deal with, and your eyes are going to have to deal with, because that runoff area is just plain and simply stupid. I have no absolute hate for this circuit at all, even though I just stated it, if you can't tell. But anyway, we're here for Fargone. I nearly ended up starting a stream for Paul Ricard last week, and I had no idea it was a break week, and it was nearly pretty funny. But I managed to figure it out about 3 seconds before I clicked start streaming, because I realized the server wasn't open. So, we're here. And also, green track. It was wet in the practice, nighttime in the practice. So, we are underway here. And, yeah, it's looking to be quite the exciting one. I've seen that Maddie, Steve, and I believe it was Longy or Hoggy was looking pretty quick out there. And so I'm pretty excited to see how that one plans out. So if I'm off a little bit during this qualifying session, it's because I'm shoving food in my mouth. I'm having my dinner, Vegemite toast. It's a very great dinner, trust me. So Maddie to start the first lap of her qualifying session here in the Ford Mustang, the quickest car around this circuit, very, very quick in a straight line by no surprises as she heads down towards turn 1, braking where those cones start. Most of them will get knocked out by the next time they are through that section of racetrack, as she had a reasonable run through there. Now she heads up towards Le Col, and it's turns 3 and 4. Hold it tight to the left. GT car. Very easy to just understeer off the left-hand side and then not get a good run for the straight, but that is the most important part of the lap here at Paul Ricard, with such a long straight of the Mistral to follow as through the left-hand kick. Maddie's had a reasonable run here. It's a green track. It's the only time the Mustang will struggle on the power a little bit, but now this is where the Mustang can really stretch its legs and show its prowess here in a straight line and at Paul Ricard here at the Le Castellet circuit. As we head through the middle past the F1 chicane. It is not the F1 layout, as you can see right now. It's just a complete dead straight line, as now towards Scene Curve we go. Just a little dab of the brakes and get it tipped in before you head towards a Bousset, just inside the track limits there for Maddie, as now you head through Bousset. Bring it out wide, but probably a little bit wider than Maddie would have wanted through this third sector here, and now towards Bendor as you head through the long left-hand hairpin, and now you go flat out on the power all the way through Village before you head to the final corner of Virage du Pont and Latour as well, which is this long left-hander. I completely forgot about it. And now you brake into the final corner, Virage du Pont. Tricky hairpin, you got to get it right through Latour to get a good run off the lap. But what is the first lap time of the qualifying session going to be from Maddie? It is going to be a 1 minute 54.660, so not bad at all from the Mustang driver. As now Steve Reese, the person who has been dominant on the pace for most of the season, is now going to come to the line. He didn't win in not Paul Ricard, he didn't win in Kyalami, but he's going to take pole position here. He had multiple wins in Nürburgring, and he takes the not the victory, the provisional pole position. I don't know what I'm on about. 54.3, 3/10 over the top of Maddie, and that is just because the track, I think, is slippery, so it's just not the best. There's another car that's really good here. It might surprise you, but the Nissan GTR, given it might not be right now because of the track conditions, but it is no slouch here as a Mark Wishel heads through towards Scene. It is very fast in a straight line, even faster than the Ford Mustang, as the track temp is also very low out here, I might mention, which is good for the grip, but then the green track, not so much, as I'll just give you this whole offboard at the final sector. Good final sector there for Mark Witchell as he heads to the line in that Nissan GTR P4. For him, 2.4 seconds off Steve Reese, but he'll continue to improve as Longy is 2/10 up on his current best as he heads towards the line, and it is an improvement, but Maddie tops the timing chart. 54.0 for our cover livery car of this week. You might have seen it on the starting soon, maybe even the thumbnail if you were paying attention. It is Maddie's car, the Zoomies car, as we'll head towards Speed Racer now, who's in the McLaren in P10, not yet to set a lap. As rounding Virage Dupont and towards the line now, it is going to be, I'm not sure how good it's actually going to be. It's looking pretty reasonable. 1 minute 56, and it's a 1 minute 56.602, and P6 for Speed Racer at this current moment. As we now look to Tobasai, I know he's going slowly. Hoggy though to the line. He's been pretty quick all season, and across the line. No lap time. It must have either been his out lap or an invalidated lap, as Steve is 32.7 seconds down. He's on a cool down lap and he's about to begin one of two final pushes. So we'll stay here with Steve and we'll go even in the cockpit cam, and we'll give you the onboard here down into turn 1, down to second gear actually because of these slippery conditions, and just get it across the car sliding. You can actually hear the engine cutting out there because of a bit of a lift off and a bit of traction control as well, as just using the right foot as a bit of traction control as well from your own person, and now flick it across through the left all over that curve. Steve actually gets a bit wrong there. He gets a bit crossed up, runs out very wide, sacrifices his run onto the straight. He is just about up, but it's pretty much even on his previous best lap time because of that mistake. He's not going to be super happy with that one, as he has 3/10 to chase Maddie, as the track is continuing to improve just that little bit, and the Mustangs are phasing into this one. As down the Mistral, Steve goes and he's making his way down the straight. The McLaren redlining in 6th gear here. That is how long this straight is. And now all over the left hand side curb, just a dab of the brakes. You can see the rotation. This car gets under high speed. He's actually a little bit wide there. He's losing a little bit of lap time. Because of that one, he's pretty much a bang even, but it is a couple of hundredths improvement here for Steve Reese if he can get this lap completed. He still has one more sector to go as he heads towards Bend Door. Just aim it left and tilt it towards that apex before you get on the brakes in a straight line. And now through the final sector, through Village, he goes, and towards that tour as well. This is a crucial corner here for Steve Reese on this lap, as Maddie is also up by 0.2 of a second at this time. Steve is up by 3. This might be enough to take provisional pole as he rounds Virage Dupont, but it might not be enough to take the pole here in the dying stages. Maddie's still improving. Steve has one more lap to go here in his qualifying session. He has some mistakes to improve on. He's a 0.5 improvement, and it is just about not going to impede improvement. He must have invalidated because it's not showing. Yeah, his last lap was a 53.8, better than Maddie, so it would have been provisional pole, but it was not to be, I guess, as the lap time was invalidated. He has one more go at it, and there was a couple of mistakes there that I'm sure he'd be willing to improve on, and he'd love to improve on, as Maddie is 3/10 up on her best lap time. Steve's going to have to pull out something quite extraordinary if he wants to beat this, as to the final sector, Maddie negotiates as she's heading towards Virage Dupont now. And it is going to be one more lap left for Maddie in this qualifying session, but this is going to be all cards shown on the table here. Maybe a little bit of lap time left in the final, but to the line, it's going to be a 53.5 here on the green track, and she pulls over. That's her qualifying done. Longy, meanwhile, is actually on a lap in another Ford Mustang. That's not who I was trying to go to. Longy is heading... Oh, no, he's off the track. He's pulling over. So we'll go back to Steve Reese again. I know we're not focusing down the back quite as much as I normally would in qualifying, but I really want to focus here on Steve Reese, who's heading through Scene Corner now and towards the long right-hander of Bousset. He has to just keep the car in check. Right now, he's 3/10 up and losing time. He's now gaining it on the exit. He's opened up the corner a little bit wider. He's 4/10 up. This will be very close if it's going to be enough. I don't think it will be enough to beat Maddie here. Mustang versus McLaren. The battle will continue to rage on in the race, I'm sure, but I don't know if Steve quite has enough here in the dying stages of this qualifying session. He's a little bit wobbly there through Latour and into Virage DuPont. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 tenth improvement on his lap time. It's going to be a 6 tenth improvement on his previous best lap time. But is it going to be enough to challenge Matty for pole position? At 6 tenths across the line. It is going to be 2 tenths off a 53.755 there for Steve Reese. And it's not going to be enough for pole position. I don't think he can go again. 47 seconds left. Maybe he can. But we'll move further down. Ken Blocks in the Ford Mustang right now. 9 tenths up, nearly a second up on his previous best lap time in that black and silver Ford Mustang. And this could get him past Longy if he's not careful here. Longy only got a 54.8 in this qualifying, 54.6, sorry, in this qualifying session. And right now, a 55.4 is the best lap time for Ken Block, so he might be able to pip Longy here if he continues on the trajectory he's on right now. So this is for P3 this lap as Blocks here rounding the final corner. And will this be a P3 lap? He had a bit of a wobble out of the final corner. He's pulled off into the pit lane while 7 tenths up. Maybe not the fuel to go to the line, but P4 it is. Steve is still up on his time though. He's 2 tenths up. This would be enough to match Matty right now. He's going to have a really good final sector if he wants to topple this one. As he heads through the final sector, we'll go on board, and I'm just going to leave you with it here as he's pushing his car to the absolute limit. Oh, and for Steve Reese, it wasn't quite enough. I'm not sure if you saw, but he had a wobble out of Bendor when he was on for pole position. It's only going to be 53.615 there for Mr. Steve Reese. And P2, he's going to have to settle with for the moment. But P2, he's not going to be disappointed, and now it's going to be a blockbuster race here. Matty on the front, and Steve Reese alongside her, followed by Longy, then Hoggy, then Blocks. Eden Nick gets P6, then Speed Racer, Mark Witchell, MJ, Demon Boost, Swooper, Exiled Reaper, Toba Sire, Dave Ross, and Mark H. And that is your qualifying session complete here in Paul Ricard to set up for the 70-minute Enduro round race. As I'm going to be quiet until we get to go green, because I'm going to shove this food in my mouth because that qualifying session was too close to let it go. as here we go. Maddie alongside Steve Reese. Oh, as Steve has gotten it all wrong, and hopefully he can catch up. Oh, there, restart. And we're going to wait another 2 minutes. So I'm going to be quiet again.
Seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Here we go. Take number 2 here for the start of this Paul Ricard 70-minute enduro round race here in Fargone Racing. Matty alongside Steve Reese. It's going to be a slippery track. The Mustang will have a bit of a weaker start. Steve might be able to use that, but down the Mistral for the first time, surely, even if Steve does get a move done because of the McLaren being better in the slippery conditions, he'll get re-overtaken because of the Mustang in a straight line, but we'll have to find out here as it's green light in Paul Ricard. Steve already inching in front as we head down towards the first braking zone. Matty is going to concede here on the inside, and that brings Longy into the fray as now Longy backs out of it. Steve is a bit wayward there from the inside curb as we head down towards turn 3 and 4. Matty's going to try this the long way round on Steve Reese as we head through, and Steve backs out of it, brakes early. He's going to try and get this done down the straight on the Mustang with Longy hot on his heels as well. Where is he going to try this one? He's going to open up the corner a little bit more here as we head towards the Mistral. The McLaren actually looking a little bit less tame than the Mustang, but they're going to go side by side through the coal here, and it's going to be the 2 leaders scrapping away here on lap 1 of Paul Ricard. Matty getting a poor exit because she was squeezed. Steve getting a good exit. It's going to be McLaren versus Mustang in a straight line. We all know who's better normally, but with the slipstream, Steve is going to try and get it done. Longy in the background could maybe even make it 3 wide here as we head past the F1 chicane, and it is going to be 3 wide here between the top 3 as we head towards Scene Curve. Surely Matty stays ahead. Steve might commit to this one. Longy backs out. They're going to stay single file. Steve carrying a lot more speed than Matty as we head through Scene Curve, but it was 3 wide scenes there here on lap 1 of an hour and 10-minute endurance race, and I think Longy and Steve both need to back out of this one. This is a marathon, not a sprint, quite literally here, as Steve Reese will still be chasing tail, but Matty getting just a little bit away, and Longy is also now going to be the one applying the pressure through that white and black Fargone Racing McLaren. And with Steve Reese behind the wheel, he's a pacey driver, but he had a couple of snaps there on lap 1 that surely gives him a little bit of concern on the handling of his McLaren, but surely whatever he's feeling, the Mustang must be feeling quite a bit worse. But that is lap 1 complete here in Paul Ricard, and there's 108 minutes to go of this 1 hour and 10-minute race, but it's 1 down, plenty to go here as we head through turn 1 once more as we head into the braking zone. Hard on the brakes goes Steve Reese. And he's going to be chasing very, very hard. Further down the back, though, do we have much scrapping going on? Yes, we do, as Dave Ross, actually, in that Caterpillar Mustang. Actually, he was a little bit closer to Swooper the last time around. Not this time around, as we'll move to Ken Blocks, potentially. Just trying to find some battling that isn't the top 3 here. I don't want to keep myself too minded up the front. The two Nissan GTRs, actually, are going to be fighting away. It's going to be Exiled Reaper versus Mark Witcher as we head on to the Mistral. And they're actually already going side by side. Through the goal we go. And the 2 Nissans are already wheel to wheel. The 2 fastest cars in a straight line here at Paul Ricard. Going at it down the Mistral. Mark Witchell leading away from the 2 Nissan GTRs. But Exiled Reaper is going to be the one applying the pressure. And Mark raced this car all weekend at Bathurst for 12 hours long. He definitely has more wheel time. He already had a lot of wheel time in this Nissan, but now he's going to go side by side with Exiled Reaper. Here we go, side by side towards Scene Corner as we head through the right-hander. Mark Witchell keeping his nose on the inside, losing out just a little bit to Exiled Reaper as we head down towards Busain, though. Mark is going to send it right back down the inside. The Motual Nissan is looking like he's going to win out here from the 74 car, and there's a little bit of contact there between Mark Witchell, and he keeps the position on Exiled Reaper, who's now fallen behind Demon Boost, as this is a 3-way fight here for the P7 position. Eden Nick already away from this little train. This is a 3-way train here for the P7 position, as Mark runs a little bit wide there. Demon Boost trying to make the best of that, but obviously just a little bit too far away in that final sector. Is much so single file, but as we head off the exit, the McLaren is going to have a hard time attacking these GTRs in anywhere but Sector 3. He's going to have to get it done through Sector 3, otherwise he won't hold the place down the Mistral, and there's not even a guarantee if he gets it done in Sector 3. But hour and 5 minutes to go, and it's looking quite pacey out here, as you would expect from Fargone. They've put on some absolute shows here in Nürburgring, in Kyalami. The lot goes on, but Paul Ricard not normally the best for racing, but they're already showing just in the first 2 laps alone that they are here to fight, as that is Exiled Reaper in the background trying to get involved for a move on Demon Boost before we even get to the straight, as we head down the Mistral. And I don't think Steve Reese is close enough to go for a move on Maddie, so we will stay with this train. As in the background there, the GTR of Exiled Reaper trying to make this just a little bit closer in a straight line, and he is pulling away from the McLaren. Look at the straight line difference between the 2 of them. The Nissan GTR is the fastest car in a straight line on ACC, at least to the most of my knowledge, in the GT3 class. And he's now going to try the long way round. This is a corner where the McLaren should be better, but he's going to get it done the long way round. He goes well off the circuit, outside the track limits. It's going to be a track cut for him, but he gets the move done. If that was the F1, that'd be a 5-second time penalty, according to Kota. But he gets it done, keeps the position on track. Thank you very much. Exiled Reaper will be very happy with that one, but now he will cut back towards the leaders. The gap is 0.3 of a second here as we head through the final sector. So Steve has been putting the pressure on, but McLaren versus Mustang isn't an easy thing to pull off. As we head through the first sector now, this is a place where Steve could attack, but I don't think it'll matter too much, as heading through turn 1, Steve pretty close behind, but he's not going to be able to get it done down the straight, or else he'd have to be right behind like we saw on lap 1, and he still didn't win out through Scene. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see where he's going to get creative and try to get it done, or will we see a Kyalami situation where he just sits behind maybe a little bit too long as well and loses out for the pleasure. We'll have to find out here, as Ford Mustang versus McLaren is not particularly a fair fight here at Paul Ricard, but it's definitely going to be one to watch. As in the background as well, Hoggy is putting the pressure on Longy, but as we head down the Mistral now, let's just see if Steve can attack in that slipstream. He is gaining and gaining and gaining. He's actually flashing his lights at Maddie. Anything to try cause a distraction here. He's not saying get out of the way. He's just trying to distract her as we head down the Mistral towards the braking zone. He's not going to be close enough, so now we'll cut back to Hoggy and Longy as we head down towards Scene Corner. The Ferrari going side by side with the Ford Mustang. He's ahead at the sector split, but Longy isn't going to give this one up easily. He's going to try this the long way around as Scene, and Hoggy getting the move done, but they're still wheel to wheel through Bousset, and I think that Hoggy has just about held onto it from Longy. We've seen these two fight in the past. I've missed all of the overtakes between both of them in other stages, but this time we're finally seeing a battle. I've finally not cut away from them at the wrong time, and Hoggy gets through on Longy, but Longy not giving this one up so easily. Ken Block's also just sniffing in the background there, trying to get a foot in the door of this battle, but he's not able to quite get involved. But this fight will continue to rage on, and that is Hoggy through on Longy. But now we're going to head up towards the lead fight again. Actually, no, we're going to stay here as the gap between the leaders is bigger than these two. As we head across the line now, it is going to be 3/10 from Hoggy to Longy. As through the left-right chicane, we're about to head for the 4th time of this Enduro. And it's pretty hard to say that it's an Enduro after the weekend we had in ESO that's also tied to ASA, 12 hours of Bathurst. I was in the box for that one with Chris Monroe and Zach O'Reilly streaming on Sensational TV, and it was a good time. And after that we commentated the supercars for AK Racing, who was also involved in ASA. But yeah, it was a long 12 hours, and a lot of these drivers you look before you on this grid tonight were involved in that. Maddie, Steve Reese, I believe Longy was, and I think a few others as well. Mark Witchell was in a different car, but he was in the grid, and I think a couple of others as well, but I'm not quite remembering. The memory not serving me too well here. But as we head down the straight, Longy's going to make this one look easy as we head towards scene. They're still going to go side by side on the entry, I think, but there's two Mustangs here attacking Hoggy, and I think that Longy might be through at the detection. He is. He's going to be very much not clear, though. They're going to go side by side, as that is just a big send there from Longy, nearly going off the track. Keeps it inside the track limits, very wide, a lot of speed carried, but he gets the position back on to P3, and that's not the last time we're going to see those two fight away at it, I'm sure, as Ken Blocks in P number 5 is going to be the next one to try and attack this number 42 Ferrari as we head through the final sector. And we're nearly 10 minutes through this 1 hour long race, but for a lot of these guys, this is why I was talking about Bathurst, for a lot of these guys this wouldn't even feel like an Enduro after what we had on the weekend. So a fun time for these guys. I think it's just a nice little smooth sailing run back into normal sort of race distances, as Hoggy right up behind through across the line. Hoggy 3/10, just under 4/10 behind Longy. And I think we might see another attack here, as I am yawning. It is late. I always forget that this starts late, even though I do before we start. But anyway, an hour to go. It is exactly 10 PM in the New South Wales Melbourne time zone AEDT, daylight savings time. The race will finish at 11 o'clock exactly, pretty much, and that is going to be a nice little ending time, because then I can go to bed and then sadly have to wake up and go to school. But that's not what we're focused on right now as we continue to look at this fight. Steve just a little bit too far away behind Maddie. Those two staying together, but I think it's going to come down to strategy, because if you look at the leaderboard on the left hand side, you will see that there is a orange number 1 next to the names of everybody up and down the grid. No, that doesn't mean that they're all number 1 drivers in a team. No, it doesn't mean that they're all in P1, but the classes are just messed up. No, it means that there is one mandatory stop in this race. So for anybody who didn't know, there you go. You're now just a little bit more informed, as Lindsay Larko, as I was deemed on the weekend by Chris Monroe and Zach O'Reilly, giving you some more information about this game if you weren't already aware, as we head through the final sector. And I think it's just that time for me to finish my last piece of toast. So you're going to get a full lap on board here with Hoggy, as we'll go... no, we won't go cockpit. We always go cockpit. We'll go dash. No, not dash pro. That's the wrong thing. No, that's the wrong thing. I'm having a mare. Hold on. Where's the camera angle I'm looking for, guys? I'm having a nightmare. No, not chase. Not bonnet. No. Hold on, I'm having a nightmare. Me. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Alrighty, on board with Hoggy for a lap of Paul Ricard here. onboard lap complete. I just got one little bit of supposed to go. So I'll be a mumbling moron for a minute. When I say one bit, I don't mean a piece. I just mean literally, like a little bit. Oh.
Main window is opening.
Alrighty, here we go. I'm back. I finished my food. We are ready to go rock and rolling. Alrighty. Just pulling the thing back up because I accidentally closed it while I was eating my toast. Let's thank you, Tash, for the thank you and the compliment on the 12-hour comms. Just reading through chat now and just have your toast, yeah. That's what I did. Alrighty. So we have seen a little bit of stuff happen while I was on the onboard lap. So first off, we saw the Mustangs really kick it up a gear. So Longy pulled quite far away from Hoggy, broke the 1 second mark, and Maddie crucially pulled 1 second to Steve Reese through the past couple of laps as well, and he's not able to close, at least at this stage. So maybe, as the track is now ticked up fast, the Mustangs having a little bit more grip, given everybody on the track will be feeling the advantages of the fast track, but the Mustang struggles in slippery conditions quite significantly. So, but it is easily the best car at this track, so it was just able to hold on. But now, as the track gets grippier and grippier, it plays more and more into the Mustang's hands and its strengths and its weaknesses, because it helps them grip up in the corners where they already struggle to grip up the more that the track gets faster. So I think that that is the pace discrepancy found in the Mustangs now. That, or maybe they are just not that bad on their tyres at Paul Ricard like every other track, just because it's a big long straight pretty much with a couple of corners, so they're not suffering with tyre wear. But the pit window also opened while this was going on in this night race at Paul Ricard, which I forgot to mention. But yes, it is a night race enduro. 10:44 in-game time will be just before 12 in-game time when we finish up. But yeah, the Mustang's really kicking it up a notch, and that is the case for a couple of things. As Hoggy is actually where is Hoggy? What has happened? I need to know. Oh, he's closed right back up to... Oh no, he lost out to Ken Blocks. So Longy is now off and down the distance, but Ken Blocks got past Hoggy while I wasn't looking. So we'll stay with these two. I missed this gap developing, as we are nearly 20 minutes into this enduro round at Paul Ricard, as through turn 1 and 2 we go. And Longy actually, in the scheme of things, isn't actually that far up the road. He's still in the camera shot. You can just see that pink Mustang just there, but I think that 1.6 seconds, it's enough for them to close back up later on, but right now it is a big enough gap for them to not be in slipstream or anything along those lines, as the gap between Steve Reese and Maddie continues to just be pretty much 1 to 1.4 seconds. As we look through, Hoggy now is going to be putting the pressure on the Ken Blocks, but as we head onto the straight, he's 7 tenths behind as we head onto the Mistral, so he's not going to be close enough to go for a move. He's not even just about in slipstream range, so the Mustangs should pull away just a little bit now, as if he wasn't already, and the Mustangs again proving they're a little bit quicker. As we're going to go back to Lee Perkins, as I think I saw a close delta there. Yes, I did. He's right up behind Swooper as we head onto the straight. The Aston Martin, pretty good at acceleration, normally pretty good in a straight line, but it's gear ratio limited here at Paul Ricard at the Mistral, and the Ferrari showing it off right now. The turbocharged V6 Ferrari is going to pull to the right-hand side. The Verstappen livery on it for Lee Perkins. He's going to pull to the right-hand side, pull alongside Swooper as we head down towards the braking zone of Scene. It's a tiny, tiny braking zone. They're going to go side by side, and the Aston Martin is just about going to lose out. both pretty stable cars, so both won't be suffering with the low grip track too much, as they both seem to excel in these sorts of conditions, the Aston and the Ferrari, both in different ways, respectively, as they are in different engine formats in the lot. But that is going to be Swooper losing out. Now Speed Racer is right there as well, only 2 tenths behind, as that is Swooper all over the road, just as I was complimenting the Aston Martin for being quite stable. He's gone all wobbly all over the road here, with 20 minutes into the race, the Aston Martin looking a little bit squirrely, so not sure what's going on there, as we'll go back to Hoggy, as the gap is still only 7 tenths between him and Ken at the last timing zone, but it is looking like it's closing out. Ken Block's actually looking like he's getting closer to Longy and getting further away from Hoggy, so maybe that Ferrari just not having the pace here in Paul Ricard. It doesn't surprise me. It is quick in a straight line, but not anywhere quick enough compared to the likes of the Mustang, so not being the quickest definitely would still make some form of sense, as the gap is now over a second, and it is closing between Ken Blocks and Longy, only a second between the two of them, as Dave Ross is right up behind Mark H as we head through the turn 1-2 complex. So we could see a Mustang attacking an Aston Martin as we head into the straight. It should be easy pickings for Dave Ross in that Caterpillar Mustang compared to that beautiful blue Aston Martin, if I do say so myself. I know I went on a rant about it during the 12 hour, but I absolutely adore the Aston. I know I've gone on a rant about it here as well in Fargone during the Kyalami pre-livery lookouts, as well as the Nürburgring. I am a sucker for an Aston, and I'm never going to shut up about it. So if you want to deal with me, you're going to have to deal with rants about the Aston Martin and how it is so good looking. But anyway, I will stop on my tangent for a brief moment, as actually another closer gap. I know we were looking at it just a moment ago, but Ken Blocks versus Longy has now arrived. This battle in full swing as we head on to the 12th lap of this race, and the gap is just about 4 tenths. Hoggy 1.7 seconds lingering in the background, as it's 6 tenths across the line between Longy and Ken Blocks. But this fight will begin to heat up. A little bit of slipstream will play some part in this race as we head down towards the Mistral. A couple of corners before the Mistral, of course, but yeah, it is going to be a relatively close end of the Mistral here, as I think that this is just about close enough territory to go for a move, especially if Ken Blocks can get a move completed. I mean, a good exit, not a move completed, what am I on about? A good exit here onto the Mistral, and it looks like he has. He takes a little bit of a wider line there, has a reasonable run on Longy here, as he is going to have the slipstream, and he's going to be gaining and gaining and gaining constantly. The Mustang in front of him punching a hole in the air, and you just look at that overspeed there. Mustang versus Mustang racing here as we head down the Mistral, but the second he pulls out of the slipstream, he hits VMAX and he stops gaining, and I'm not sure he's going to be close enough. He slots back into the slipstream, so he's just pulled out a little bit too early there towards Scene, and he's going to be kicking himself for that mistake, even though there's a long time to go. 32-minute window for pit stops as well. They're going to go as long as into that as I would expect. Probably another 10-20 minutes, maybe even some people going all the way to the end of the pit window before they pit, especially drivers, which we've seen go really long before. I don't have specific examples because I can't remember back to Kyalami, which is Enduro, who pit at what stage during the pit window, but Longy is going to live to fight another day, obviously, because Ken Blocks pulled too early out of the slipstream, but he's going to now try to put the pressure on again as we head through Virage DuPont. We actually see him open up the final corner a lot more to get a slingshot off the exit, even though he won't be close enough. He wants to just be closer and closer and closer, so he has an easier chance at the Mistral, even if he does pull out to the right just that little bit early as we head down to the braking zone of turn 1 and 2. I'm yawning all over the place, guys, but as we head through the exit, and we are getting a reasonable amount into this race, nearly 25 minutes in. Time flies when you're having fun. The track's still on fast conditions after just over 30 minutes, including qualifying, of the track drying up from practice, going green, and it only hit fast in the race, and now it's going to continue to go towards optimum, but I am surprised it's not already there, as we are a reasonable distance into this race. As we enter the straight, the gap is about 6.5 tenths between. Oh no, the gap is 4 tenths between Ken Blocks and Longy, and closing and closing and closing down the Mistral. Will Ken Blocks make the same mistake he does last time? No, he's getting a lot closer behind the back of Longy's Mustang as we head down towards Scene Curve, and he's still not going to go for it at the scene, and he's not. I think he's just playing patient. I would say I don't think he's quite close enough. He definitely was if he pulled out to the right hand side, but I think he's content with just sitting behind and waiting for a time to shine, as these two Mustangs, the closest battle on track is actually, we see Ken Blocks just make a little bit of a mistake there, but the gap between the two leaders, 2.7 seconds, so I was right about the Mustangs just entering a league of their own since the track got a little bit more grippy, because even in a Mustang versus a McLaren, Steve Reese and Matty are similarly paced even at Paul Ricard, so it's really fascinating to see just the wonders of a Mustang versus a McLaren at a track that's Mustang heavy. I think it's really cool to see, because in a hot lap they're super close, but over a race distance, the car that's quicker in a straight line at Paul Ricard is going to be the better race car, and I think we're seeing that come into fruition right now. I'm not saying that Maddie doesn't deserve to be out in the lead. She is a rapid driver. She deserves every piece of credit that comes her way, but I do think a little bit of it is car related, but I think that there are tracks that you could say the exact same for Steve, and even Kyle Army. The McLaren is rapid there, he couldn't make anything happen, so it still comes down to the driver. Even when your car is so good at a circuit, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good. As we head onto the Mistral again, the gap potentially a little bit bigger than last lap, so I'm not sure if Longy I'm not sure if Ken Blocks is going to be able to attack Longy here as we head down the straight. We are nearly 30 minutes into this hour and 10 minute race. This is the yellow flag, car number 47. That is Toba Sire, who's had a moment. He's off the track. We'll go back 30 seconds. Here's a replay of what happened. So Toba Sire, in his West McLaren livery, heads towards Scene Curve. Does he just make a mockery of it on the exit? Does it get a bit wayward from him with the slippery track? Heads over the exit curb. No, looking pretty stable. Is through Bousset. He's just done a Leclerc, but not carrying enough speed like in an F1 car to go out to that outside barrier. And he reverses off the track, gets out of everybody's way very respectfully, and just cuts back over the track. And this is the shot that we saw as I hit the 30-second replay as we cut back to him now. Last place for him. Surely he might just come in for a new set of tyres, as, yeah, I think we're going to see him pull off to the right-hand side. No, he stays out, which is surprising to see, actually. I thought he'd just get rid of those second-hand hot tyres, but no, he's going to keep going. But the car spinning away on a slippery track. We'd not seen that one just yet in this race, but we have seen it before in real-life F1, and I'm sure in other real-life categories as well that just aren't clips that I've seen before. As you would imagine, it's a very easy corner to make a mistake, especially with a bit of a tailwind. But Toba Sire is making a mistake that absolutely anyone could make as we head back up towards Ken Blocks and Longy through the first sector. And these two fighting locked into battle here, and the two Mustangs just are going to stay close to each other. I think these two are going to be connected by the hip all race, unless the strategy changes that. Even though Longy has made a little bit of a gap here this lap around, either Longy is going to get away, break slipstream one time and pull away with it, or they're going to be locked at the hip all race battling, but nothing to avail for either of them really to make any sort of chaotic moves, because they're just both in the same car. As the gap is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, 0.6, 0.5, the slipstream doing its job here for Ken Blocks versus Longy, as we are nearly getting quite deep into this race. There's 15 minutes before the halfway mark pretty much, and we head through now. Actually, no, would this be, no, there's about 6 minutes until the halfway mark, because it is 70-minute race. As Ken Blocks still trying to hunt behind Longy as they head through Bendor and now through Village. As I feel like I'm going to repeat myself like a broken record like in Kyle Army, but I don't. I'm running out of words to say, as the fast lap of the race right now is set by Maddie with a 1 minute 53.9 on race trim, which is absolutely phenomenal pace. As there we go, Ken Blocks pulls to the right and makes the first pit stop of the Paul Ricard, a 70-minute race here. One mandatory stop, and he is the first one to pull the trigger. And this is for sure an undercut attempt. I'm not sure if this was always going to be his pit lap, but I would imagine not. It seems pretty early in the pit window, but with 40 minutes to go, he's going to make the box, get more fuel in the car, potentially more tyres. I'm not sure if it's a mandatory both pit stop or not. I'd have to check the format, which I definitely haven't, because I was making toast before the race. But yeah, it is going to be an undercut attempt here, as we will stay with Ken Blocks. I think this is going to be really fascinating to see as he drops off the jacks and he's gone again. Mandatory stop complete. That would have been just a fuel splash and dash, I believe. Actually, no, being dropped off the jacks, it might have been a tyre change. We'll have to see. But he's going to exit the pit lane now, and I'm just going to give you a quick full lap cockpit cam on board with the Mustang and just listen to that V8 purr as I need to grab some water. As I am very much back with some water, and now we can go back to the TV cameras as Steve Reese got a drive-through penalty, and that is for track limits. That is huge here in this race, as I've gone for 2 moments and he gets a drive-through, and that's how hard he's been pushing to stay with the Mustang and Matty, who still holds the fast lap of this race. Steve Reese has no response to that Mustang's pace, as I think yeah, 3 Mustangs in the top 4 does speak for itself, Tash, you're right. But a drive-through, that's going to drop him behind Longy, because he has to make a drive-through, then a pit stop. It's not a short pit lane, it's a shorter pit lane, but it's not a short pit lane here at Paul Ricard. It's definitely more than an 18-second loss. He's going to be able to make it back. There's still 37 minutes to go, but that plays a little bit of a shake-up here in this race as they cross the line. As we're going to go to Steve, actually, as I want to see when he plans on serving this one. He's going to continue pushing on for the moment, but that is absolutely huge here in Paul Ricard. As speaking of who else has pitted, so it's only been, other than Ken Blocks, who we were looking at, who's trying to pull off the undercut on Longy, it is just Speed Racer who has pulled into the pit lane, as I thought everybody would be pitting later on in the pit window. I did think that potentially it was just a tiny bit early for Ken Blocks to pull into the pit lane, but he did anyway. As actually, on that last lap, Steve gained quite a bit of time on Matty. I think now that he's gotten a drive-through, he's just going to go hell for leather. He needs to pull time to the car behind. I don't think he will close up to Matty, though, as that Mustang is very quick, but he is pulling away quite significantly from Longy. I think his plan is just to clear the drive-through gap. As Tash asking, how much is a drive-through worth? That's a good question. At Paul Ricard, I'm honestly unsure. I've done so many Paul Ricard League races, but honestly, I've never paid attention to the drive-through, because normally it's quite a huge grid, and it's normally not someone who's fighting for the win as well. I would hazard a guess and say Paul Ricard probably 20 seconds. Don't quote me on that though, we will time it when he comes in because I am actually interested to know. But yeah, 35 minutes to go, so we are now pretty much halfway through this Paul Ricard race, and congrats to the drivers for making it through the first 35 minutes with relatively no incidents except for Tobasaya and the drive-through, and now we got another 35 to survive. Oh, as I've spilled water on myself. Not a lot, just like a drop, but it's just annoying. It's cold. Anyway, there's not too much close on-track action going on at the moment, and yeah, so you're right, Tash. Luckily, I mean not luckily, roughly the gap to Longy, that's going to spice it up. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Steve is going to have to get an overtake done on a Mustang. He has the pace. We've seen these two up in the front here in a league of their own, as they have been the past couple, except for Tuan, who I believe, well, he isn't here tonight, but I don't know if we're going to see him again from what I've heard pre-race. Yeah, Steve has the pace to get back through, but still overtaking a Mustang is going to be tricky if he doesn't pull that gap. But I think he has just. But the even more crucial point is the fact that this basically guarantees Matty the win, because he has to serve this drive-through and also then pit afterwards. So he's going to come out right in front of Longy, depending on when he wants to pit. And then he's going to have to pit in front of Longy as well if he comes out in front. So he still has a strategy to play out here as well. So he has 2 runs through the pit lane in a race that should only have had 1 if you kept it inside the curbs. But he hasn't been able to do that here. So I think it is that time. There's not too much going on. I think it's fun fact time here for Paul Ricard. I have commentated this race. Or I've commentated a Paul Ricard League race 5 times in the past 6 weeks, so I definitely have these drilled into my brain. I won't even do it with the notes up. So, located in Le Castellet, France, Circuit Paul Ricard is a 5.770 kilometre circuit that has 13 corners and a lap record set by Nick De Vries in an LMP2 car of a 1 minute 40.139. And considering these GT3 lap times, that is absolutely huge here as Steve Reese pulling in to serve his drive-through, so it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out there. You can see on the track map Longy heading through the final corner, Steve heading towards the end of the pit lane. So we'll just keep an eye on this quickly before I continue to read on, as Longy now heading towards the pit lane exit, and Steve heading towards the pit lane exit as well. But I think, yeah, Longy is through by a good couple of seconds, so is Hoggy. Eden Nick maybe as well as we head onto the exit as well. Hoggy's just going to be through. Eden Nick not quite, as that is Steve Reese losing even more time than I thought. So he has to get past Hoggy in the Ferrari, who I think he will make short work of in a few laps time. But he is well clear of Longy, so it's about a 30-second loss from a drive-through in the pit lane. The Paul Ricard pit lane a lot longer than I remember it being. And that is a big pit loss there for Steve Reese. And now he has work to do here. At least it creates some action to look forward to, though, as he's going to have to get some overtakes done in the mix of all of this. I think he's going to make quick work of Hoggy. Then he's got to go catch Longy, though. But that gap already shrinking quite significantly here. As, yeah, Tash, you're right, that drive-through was absolutely huge. As we'll continue on with the facts. That lap record set by Nick De Vries in the LMP2 car was in 2020. The circuit first broke ground in 1969, was raced for the first time in April 1970. The circuit has super amounts of layouts, but 7 FIA graded layouts. The circuit was slightly changed in 2019, which we don't see here on ACC, as it's still an outdated pit lane version of Paul Ricard to accommodate for a pit lane change. So yeah, what we see is the 2018 rendition of the circuit, but the layout itself hasn't changed at all. It is just the pit lane entrance, which actually makes the pit lane even longer. So that would have hurt Steve even more in this specific race setting. As we head through the final sector here with Steve, and he's already closed about 2 seconds, or actually a lot more than 2 seconds up to Hoggy, as is the pace difference between these guys out on the track tonight at 10:30 PM my time. 30 minutes to go pretty much in this race, so not long left now. They are well over halfway done, and they only have a little bit to go. 30 minutes, not a super long time here. And still pit stops to make. 15 minutes left in the pit lane window being open. And where will Steve get it done? I assume Steve will go for it in the nick of time, in just down the next straight. So we'll go to the helicam as it gives you the best overview down the Mistral straight, in my opinion, as there is exactly, well, not exactly, but 30 minutes, 30 seconds to go here in Paul Ricard, and the track is still not optimal yet. But the McLaren is going to be the hunter. The gap is 5 tenths as they enter the Mistral straight. Steve Reese trying to make back lost time there from a drive-through. Hopefully he doesn't get another one. As he heads down the Mistral, just look at the slipstream. The McLaren a little bit quicker than the Ferrari in a straight line to add to that great measure as well as we head down the straight. And he's going to pull out to the right-hand side. I don't think Hoggy's going to fight him too hard as Steve Reese down the inside. Look at that, the Ferrari not fighting hard at all, knowing Steve is just the quicker car through at the inside of scene. And now he has a big gap to close up to Hoggy. I believe about 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds to close up to the Ford Mustang in P2. I believe he'll be able to close it, but there's a pit strategy in the midst of that as well, as I've said a few times. So it creates a couple of spanners in the works here. Steve Reese won't be happy with having to take one more extra time through the pit lane for strategy as well. And yeah, now he's got the big charge to make, as Longy, he has the pace over him, but it's not as significant as it was over Hoggy, so he's going to have some work to do here in the later stages of this Paul Ricard race, but I'm sure we'll see some excitement in ahead of us. So through sector 1 again, is there anybody close out on the track? I believe Mark Witchell and Dave Ross are fairly close together here, as we'll move to the Mark Witchell in that Nissan GTR as we head onto the Mistral. Look at that time gain, 6 tenths, 5 tenths, 4 tenths, and it's on a Mustang, might I add. So he's closing and closing and closing and closing on the Mustang. Not going to be enough to make a move, but we'll stay with these two for the moment, as actually Steve Reese to Longy is only 2 seconds. He's already making short work of this gap, which started at 6 seconds when he exited the pit lane. So he is absolutely on a flyer. Steve not waiting around for anybody right now. As I look at that live delta, you can see it actually on the top left. You can't see exactly what I'm seeing. I'm using a separate program to see the live gaps, but definitely still gives you an insight as to what the gap is between the two of them, as the gap is 2.2 seconds now between Steve Reese and Longy, whereas the gap between these two is definitely not 2.2. It is only 6 tenths of a second, and actually in front of Dave Ross is Swooper as well. So this is a 3-car train, as the Mustang actually flew off the road there, overshot the final corner, and now Mark Witchell is going to be hunting, as he's actually made a pit stop, which is why he is back here. I didn't even clock that one in my small little peanut brain. As through the exit of turn 1, it is going to be that's also why the Nissan didn't have as much straight line speed as it normally does over a Mustang. Just extra fuel on board in the car, I think. But anyway, unimportant. That's an extra Mustang up the road. That's actually not Swooper. That's a is there a lapped Mustang? Who is that? Oh, that's Maddie. Maddie's lapped them. Alright, that makes sense. Maddie is so far out in front, she's lapping people already. Oh my god. She is absolutely zooming in that Zoomies Mustang. Anyway, gap between these two, 6 tenths. As actually, Swooper is only, according to my live delta, he's only 5 tenths behind Lee Perkins. But according to the game, it's 17 seconds. But let's take a look at that one to see how accurate it is. Oh, no, sorry, it was 5 tenths for the car behind, but that's Toba Sire. It's a lapped car. Alright. So not the full truth from the telemetry software, but not the farthest from the truth either. As we'll go back to these two, and I'm just going to give you the pure off-board between these two, as I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show for a minute, as Unlike the 12 hour, where for some reason I was able to commentate for 12 hours and not get a sore throat. I definitely... Oh, never mind. I thought it was going to happen a little bit later. I was waiting for the Mistral, but Mark Witchell is going to try and make the move now. So I'm not going to shut up like I said I would, as Mark Witchell is going to try this the long way around of turn 1, and oh, he's not quite going to be able to get it done there in the 74 Nissan GTR. As I was just going to shut up before we got to the Mistral and then see the overtake happen there, but I guess I'm not allowed. ACC was like, how dare you take another break off the comms and give them an onboard again. It's only an hour and 10 minute race. You're doing a 2 hour stint at a time with only a 2 minute break in between them. How dare you? But no. No. We're going to create racing now. So, I'm not complaining as he got past there on Dave Ross, who's actually now gone off at scene, and that is Mark Witchell through. And the gap between Steve and Longy is increasing. That is truly fascinating, as Steve in the first stint was super clear pace-wise of Longy, but that gap is increasing. It is 3.1 seconds, only 2.2, just nearly under a second a few laps ago, so I wonder what has happened there. Oh, that's so relatable, Tash. Tash just saying, Steve making Hoggy look as slow as my DoorDash driver taking forever to deliver my food. Oh, that's an underrated comment there. As Steve continuing on, Sweeper comes into the pit lane. So the cars pitted so far are Ken Blocks, Mark Witchell, Demon Boost, Exiled Reaper, Speed Racer Mark H, and Toba Sire. The car's yet to pit a race leader, which doesn't really matter because she has such a big gap. Maddie, Longy, Steve Reese, Hoggy, Eda Nick, Lee Perkins, Swooper's in the pit lane right now, and Dave Ross. I think we will see Steve I think we'll see him quicker than Longy in the second stint. I think it's just that the tyres, because they went through a heat cycle as well while slowing down, so you do the drive-through and everything like that. I think he's just chewed through the tyres maybe a little bit here in Paul Ricard. That was an Aston Martin there off of, well, that was Swooper actually. In the Aston Martin off the track, just letting Steve go after a slight little mistake. As the gap has once again began to shrink between Steve Reese and Longy. It was 3-point-something seconds, now it's 1.7 seconds down the Mistral, so maybe I'm just going to shut my mouth about why the gaps are closing and when and why and how and whatever. I think I'm just going to let them race and see who's closing his last lap. Steve did a 1:54.6 in the lap, and the last lap for Longy was a 55.7, so significant pace difference there. And Steve only 0.3 off his PB, so or 0.2 off his PB, so he's still going pretty quick out there. So I'm just gonna shut up and stop talking, as in not right now, but about like things like gaps and stuff, as I think it's just fluctuating a little bit. But the gap, look at that. 1.1 seconds, as this is a mighty lap here from Steve Reese, who once again is only 0.2 off his PB of the race, and now he is chasing down Longy in a fight for the ages. It's going to be him versus the Mustang again, though, as they have traffic in front of them. That is Longy pulling into the pit lane to get out of the way of the traffic and try the pit just before the traffic strategy. Steve is going to try battle through it and get an overcut, so we'll have to see how this ends up working out for the both of them. As we're just going to go on board here with something what I was looking for. Come on now. We're going to go on board here with Steve Reese as he's trying to negotiate his way through the traffic, which actually are pretty far in front of him at this current moment. And I'll just leave you to it. Pure nighttime lap here on a McLaren, as I am not just going on board because I want to shut up and save my throat. That's part of it. That's normally the reason why. Tonight, it's just because it's a nighttime race, and I think nighttime racing is absolutely stunning. And just like in Le Mans, when they do a lot of nighttime onboards, I just want to do that here. So I'm going to shut up and let you enjoy it. As an onboard lap completed there with Steve Reese. And he's going to continue pushing on. He doesn't come in this lap. Actually, even Maddie's pitted at this point. So he is one of only 3 cars out on track to not pit. And that definitely shows the strategy he's trying to pull. He'll definitely save fuel during his drive-through as well. So that plays a little bit of a key part in it, as well as Maddie. It's only 7 seconds behind him. Is actually just at the end of the camera shot there. We see Maddie poke into view. Only 7 seconds between these two. But obviously Maddie is not Steve's race anymore. Steve has to try and get past Longy with what he's trying to do, an overcut. It might work, honestly. We'll have to see how it all plays out, though. If not, he'll try and chase down and get the move done on track, just like we saw before the pit stop. But Steve-O definitely not taking this one any less seriously after a mistake. He's just going to continue pushing on, as you'd expect to see from such a high caliber driver such as this man we are looking at. And yeah, it's really good to see he's not losing any of that killer instinct after a mistake, because as I said, high caliber driver. But sometimes, even in real life, you see in the F1 or GT3s or WEC, drivers get one penalty or one wrong move and they get a warning for it and they go just a little bit mopey. But Steve is just out for blood. He still wants to get the P2, but just because he can. Will he come in this lap? No, he doesn't. He's really staying out long here. It makes me wonder, did he also overfuel as well as saving fuel in his drive-through? It's really interesting to think about, but he actually has to come in at the end of this lap because of the pit window. He has absolutely no choice. There's 2 minutes 30 left open on that pit window. I hadn't even paid attention to how long was left. This race is absolutely flying by, as there's only 17 minutes 20 seconds to go here in Paul Ricard. But yeah, Steve Reese, he's still got good pace. Maddie actually isn't even closing to him that much since her pit stop, but with the pit stop still to make, he's refusing to come in just a little bit earlier. This is the last lap. Both him and Lee Perkins can come into the pit lane with 2 minutes left on that pit lane timer. So this is going to be the lap to do it for Steve Reese. Is he going to actually successfully get the overcut done on Longy? We'll have to see. He did negotiate the traffic pretty well. So it's now going to come down to him and him alone on whether or not he is going to be overcutting Longy. But it is likely, actually, as Longy in the 55. Steve Reese only went 2 thousandths off his PB on that last lap. A 1 minute 54.407 was his last lap. His best lap is a 1 minute 54.405. So 2 thousandths between his last lap and his best lap, as he will come into the pit lane in a couple of moments time, and we'll see where he comes out in all of this. But it's going to be really interesting to see as he heads through Village now. and towards Virage du Pont as he heads through Le Tour now, slamming on the brakes for the Virage du Pont. Now he pulls off to the right hand side because he has to pit, gets over the right hand side line, and now he activates the pit limiter for more than a 30-second trip this time, as it is a pit stop as well. Flash and dash right at the end of the pit lane though. 35 seconds to Longy from Maddie, who also had 7 seconds. So Steve has about 40 seconds on his belt here as he heads into the pit lane. And his pit box will be just up ahead here. He pulls off to the right and slams on the brakes to his pit box. And let's see. He's at the start-finish line. Longy is heading around the final corner now. Will we see Longy once again jump Steve from the pit lane? He gets off the jacks now. He's right at the end of the pit lane, and Steve has pulled a masterclass here now. And he gets through on Longy with the overcut. It's going to be close on the exit. They're going to be racing on the exit, potentially. No. He pulls quite significantly ahead. The pit window is now closed. 15 minutes exactly to go left in the race. It's midnight in game time, as I forgot that the time acceleration wasn't exactly on 1 times. And Longy is about, I want to say, 2 seconds behind. No, it is 2.6 seconds behind Steve Reese here, and that is quite an overcut from Steve, and he's pulled that one off to absolute perfection. I thought we were going to see the on-track overtake earlier on. He doesn't even have to, and that is move done from an overcut. Impressive stuff there from the McLaren, and now he'll just push on. 15 minutes, a good pace in front of Longy until the end, and he should be home free for P2 even after his drive-through mistake. And Maddie right now dominantly out in the lead, like we've seen from it all race. She was even 7 seconds ahead of Steve-O, which is quite the impressive feat considering how quick he is, and we're seeing that right here in action. But the mix of the Mustang and the person behind the wheel in the car in P1 right now is absolutely dominant. 33.3 seconds out in the lead at the moment. There is no response to that at all, even if Steve hadn't made a mistake. So she just has to tiptoe her Mustang around the track a couple more times, about 6 more times here in this race, to finish a 35 or 36 lap race here around Port Ricard for 1 hour and 10 minutes. And yeah, 13 minutes to go, and victory will be hers, much like we saw in Kyalami. So this will be a second win of the season, I believe, but obviously I wasn't here for the first round. I believe Steve won it though, what I got told after Kyalami. But yeah, been a really good performance from her, at least at this point. So but she's not the only one who's had an impressive drive. Steve needs to take a bow. That was, even though he's made that mistake, got the drive through, he took it with grace and humility and got the overcut on a great strategy. And right now he's actually up on his best lap time. We could even see a 53 here from Steve. And Maddie's had the fastest lap for quite a while at this race. 53.975. She has, sorry. And Steve right now with a 54.4, but he is 4 cents up on his best lap time, so he could actually pit the fast lap here off of Maddie, whose last lap was a 54.3. So we could see a little bit of faster slap chicken here still going on between the two leaders at this point, as he's about 7-8 tenths up. Maddie might see that a fast slap get taken and absolutely pushes for it though, which is why I say we could see fast slap chicken. Just one more factor to take into account in this race, just for the fun of it, because these two are just that fast. As Steve Reese right now, 1.5 seconds, nearly 2 seconds up on his last best lap time. Oh, I know why now. The track has hit optimum, so the track is as fast as it's been all night. And to the line, what is the fastest lap going to be here for Steve? Ah, the Delta lied to me. How pleasant. How pleasant is that? I thought he was about to set an absolute steamer for the fast lap. Obviously, himself and Matty both had the chance to. Now that the track has hit optimum, I think we are going to see a new fastest lap in the dying 10 minutes here. But yeah, no, not as much of a corker as I thought it was going to be there of a lap. But right now, Matty and Steve are both 1/10 uppers. We'll go to Matty for a bit. Been sitting on Steve for quite a while. Everybody's starting to improve by a couple of tenths now. The track is at its peak condition, and it's nice to see. And we'll stay with Matty for a little while in the Mustang as she continues to push on, just quite off board for her. Ooh, not quite a new fast lap there. The Delta line again. It was saying she was 3/10 up, but she only does a 53.990, 15 milliseconds off her previous best lap time. No, not 15. 8, is it? Yeah, no, 15 milliseconds off her previous best lap time. As Steve reached the line once again. Not, or is he? Oh, he hasn't finished the lap yet. Hold on. Steve to the line, just looking at the deltas, and now he's just going to equal his PB. Yeah, pretty much. He just equals his PB. So both of the top two here just evening their PBs, as I think Longy's made an error. As Steve just randomly pulled heaps of time, and I'm not sure. No, that must have been a bug from going across the line on the telemetry. But yeah, both of these top two here gunning for a fast lap, which is always good to see. I think we'll see a new fast lap at some point. I already said that though. Do they get points for the fastest lap like in this league, like in F1? I don't know. I'd honestly say probably not, being GT racing. I'll fact check that after the race and I'll get back to you next round though. But honestly, probably no. But maybe. But fast lap is always just nice bragging rights to have anyway. It's always good fun to just say, hey, I don't care, I was faster. It's pretty funny. Just to pull the fast lap card over and over and over again if you don't even win the race. But yeah, I think here it might just be for bragging rights. Actually, I'll check right now. Why not? I'll fact check myself if I can now, that is. I don't actually know if there's going to be a point system in the Discord. About and rules. No. ASA, let's check this part. Just their main Discord. It's got to be somewhere, I would assume. I'm just useless. Series info, maybe? No, that's just the calendar. It'd be in the results, so do you get a point for fastest lap? No, I was right. You do not. So it's just for bragging rights, but bragging rights are always a good thing to have. You can't go wrong with some bragging rights. Oopsie, I accidentally muted myself on Discord because I hit the wrong button. Anyway, 6 minutes 40 seconds to go here in this race, and yeah, I'm excited to I don't know, I can't even say excited to see the end of the race. I'm not really. Wish we could have seen a little bit more on track battling, but guess what, guys? It's Paul Ricard. You're never gonna see that. It's actually, no, maybe we will. Exiled Reaper and Swooper are quite close together. Aston Martin versus Nissan GTR here. We'll stay with these two for a little bit, but yeah, no, not as much racing on track as I thought there would have been, but Paul Ricard doesn't really blend well for that sort of racing anyway. I'm a very big Paul Ricard hater. I really don't like the track. But anyway, that's a discussion for after the race in the VC with all the drivers, where I can debate that to the ends of the earth, because everybody else hates it anyway, so it's not going to be really a debate. But, yeah, it's been a pretty good one still. I think Steve getting the drive-through definitely threw a spanner into the works and made it a little bit more fun. Him trying to get past Longy, pulling a good strategy as well. Getting past Longy that way was always quite interesting. And I think that we haven't had the most in terms of on-track action, but we've had excitement in other ways, which is what has made this race pretty decent. So, yeah, definitely sad to see it end, but it would have dragged on a little bit if it went any longer than this. There's 5 minutes to go of an hour and 10-minute race. It's felt like it's gone pretty quickly here as we approach 11 p.m. my time. 5 minutes to go on the clock. 5 minutes until 11 o'clock my time. It's been a pretty long night in the box, but definitely not 12 hours. It was a relief coming back to a normal hour and 10-minute race after that Bathurst 12 hour, but that was always good fun on the weekend. So, yeah, the dying stages of this Paul Ricard race, and just give me your thoughts in the chat if there's more people than just, oh, you just, hold on, okay, thank you. I feel like, from what I've seen, sim racing bragging rights matter more than just points. Yep, that's exactly right. For sim racing, bragging rights are the most important thing. Yeah, just give me your thoughts on the race in the chat if you want. If you're watching and you haven't been chatting, or even if your Tash who has been active in the chat, providing some entertainment to me as I watch these cars go around this terrible track. And you did notice if you look in the description of the live stream, you will see it says the Discord link, and then underneath it'll say Fargone Racing GT Challenge Season 18 Round 4 Paul Ricard, and then in brackets comms note ew. So get a good chuckle out of that one if you don't like Paul Ricard as well. As Whooper and Exiled Reaper continue to battle away here with 3 minutes to go, but yeah. It's been a pretty interesting but not the most on-track packed race. So, yeah, not happy to see it end. But also, as I said, it would have dragged out too far if it hadn't stopped now when it is about to. As the two leaders since the track went optimum, surprisingly, actually haven't set new fastest laps. You would imagine they would have, but I think that the track probably has gotten too cold. It was 14 degrees for ambient and track when the race started, which blends better to fast laps, because colder is better in racing until it gets too cold, and I think that 12 degrees is probably just that little bit too cold, and so the track going optimum kind of evens out the lap times, but I think that they are just a little bit too cold to set new fastest laps probably, but we'll see, because there is still 2 more laps to go. But Maddie, 36 seconds out in the lead is absolutely amazing from her. So she's got to take a bow, as I believe. Where is she on the track? Yeah, no. Next lap will be her. No. Yeah. Next lap will be her last lap. This battle is not going anywhere, so we will just cut back to Maddie. We'll go off board with our race leader for one last time in this Paul Ricard hour and 10-minute race. And yeah, she's had an absolutely brilliant display of driving out there tonight. She pulled a gap even before there was a threat of the gap being too small, and then Steve made a mistake and she capitalized, and she's now 36 seconds out in the lead. She's been on the pace, the Mustang at Paul Ricard, the cover car as well, the thumbnail, if you didn't notice already, and the starting soon screen as well. So very, very nice performance here from Maddie as she's heading through the final sector for the second last time, the penultimate lap about to come to an end. But yeah, started P1 just, I think, yeah, started P1 just ahead of Steve. After a little bit of a kerfuffle of the first start, she managed to get a good second start. Steve nearly got ahead but wasn't able to get it done in a straight line. The race might have ended up completely different if he'd led by the end of the first lap, but Maddie managed to get the position back using the legs that the Mustang has in a straight line to get the lead, and she just controlled the pace. It was very, very close between the two of them, but when the track hit the fast from instead of fast conditions instead of green, that Mustang just gripped up enough to be quicker than the McLaren, and it has been in another level since for every Mustang on the grid, but specifically the one we're looking at right now, the very crazy livery zoomies Mustang with all sorts of comic strips and cats and whatever you name it, a bunch of bits and bobs. It's very colourful, it's blue and pink, and yeah, a phenomenal drive from Maddie. So for that, she has got to be very proud. She won just about in Paul Ricard, oh, not Paul Ricard, just about in Kyalami over Steve, and now she's going to get a second win here in Fargone season 18. It has been a pleasure to witness, and I'm sure to the viewers to watch as well. So as she rounds through, well, as she heads down the Mistral, this annoying long straight for one last time, and now into Scene for one last time, she is going to just be thinking about the race, how she played it out, and just pretty happy, I'd imagine, with the result she's about to get. You can't be any more happy than a win with the fastest lap for good measure, as well as that's top tier bragging rights, that. And she's just going to be bathing in the glory, I'm sure, as she heads through the final couple of corners now, as she's just going to let it sink in, I'm sure, after she crosses the line. She's still got a couple corners to go, but 37.1 seconds ahead of Steve Reese. It has been an absolutely phenomenal drive from Maddie, and she is going to take the victory here in Paul Ricard at a very dark, very cold Paul Ricard circuit, Le Castellet. And it is 11 degrees out there, and she takes the win in the 70-minute enduro round of round 4. And that is a very brilliant performance there from Maddie. Very dominant over the rest. As will she do burnouts? Surely do burnouts. Be fun. Turn the TC off, please. Surely Maddie does donuts, right? I don't think she's going to. That's egregious. As Dave Ross got a drive-through off the final lap of the race. Oh no. Yeah, it's a great drive from Maddie tonight to get the victory, and she doesn't do any victory donuts. Oh no. That's so disappointing. But anyway, dominant display from Maddie out there. And yeah, as Tuan saying, Maddie's too OP, and finally not alone in chat for Tash, finally. She's way too fast, I can battle her in 2 tracks. Probably exhausted, she nearly faints every long race. Oh, poor Maddie. But hopefully this makes her feel a little bit better about the fact that she feels pretty tired. 11:02 PM my time, but that has been a great race of Fargone racing, as we'll go through the final timetable and results now. As it's P1 Maddie, P2 Longy, P2 Steve Reese, then you have Longy in P3, then Blocks, Hoggy, Eda Nick, Perkins, Witchell, Demon Boost, Speed Racer, Exard Reaper, Swooper, Mark H, Tobasiah, Dave Ross, MJ, rounds out your grid. But that has been another round of the Fargone Racing GT Challenge Series Season 18 at Paul Ricard. Maddie takes the victory in a dominant fashion, and that's the car that you see right there. That is our winning car on that preview screen that you're looking at right now. But that is going to be all for Fargone Racing tonight, and that is me done with comms here again for tonight. hopefully I'll see you next week. I don't see a reason why not. And yeah, thank you for everyone who watched, and anybody who is going to watch this race back later, and good night.